Hey guys, so I have found Olivia Rodrigo's recommended books and I really wanted to read them, so I decided to look at the list and read a couple. I've also noticed that a lot of celebrities use books that kind of represent them or their moral values and the stuff they really like, so I was like, you know what, I would love to see what she likes, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first book is 1984 and I personally love reading this book. It is like a classic, and so I kind of have always wanted to read this and I was like, you know what, like it's just the time right now. It is a good book. I kind of like gave up the last couple of pages because they were talking about torture and I'm not like into reading that. I find it very difficult to read. I did try to read it for like multiple days, but then it was like so much and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna finish this book ever. So I decided to kind of like let it go, but it is like a really good book. It talks about like newspeak, for example, so how language controls your mind, and I do think it gives you a lot of like criticism towards capitalism and like just the way that societies are built, and it was really interesting. I do think it's like a dystopian novel or like a reflection on how the future could be if we're not careful. So I do think it's very like critical towards like the structures that we live in today, and yeah, I would really recommend you reading that. The next one is like Big Magic, and first of all, I don't know if I would read a book like that, but also like I feel like I've read a book like that already, or maybe I've read this book already and I forgot about it, like I don't know. But I know for sure that I didn't expect anything of it because I didn't know what it meant. I did think it is going to be a bit more on the fun and happier side, and it was definitely like voodoo magic a little bit, but I personally really enjoyed it because she was talking about how ideas come to you, and ideas as not like objects but more like things that have their own mind in a way. And I found that so interesting because I've also felt like I had an idea and then I didn't act upon it, and then a couple of months later I saw somebody else doing the same thing and I was like, I actually maybe I should have done that, but also like I don't know if I was the right person to kind of like do that thing. And I think it was so fascinating to read that, and she has such a like beautiful and like wholesome view on life, but specifically artistry, where you always continuously put in effort into things regardless of the outcome, and she kind of sees it more as like a fun thing that you do. I think she was very realistic as well because she was talking about how you shouldn't like give up your 9 to 5 just because you're writing a book and like just hope that it is going to be successful. And I think it translates to YouTube videos or like songwriting, so that's probably why Olivia read it. No matter like what you're doing for fun and your hobby, you should still maintain your 9 to 5, which I do think right now currently we are living in a climate where people are going back to their 9 to 5s. They realize that when you start making videos even on TikTok and that becomes your income, it makes it so much more difficult for you to actually be creative because now all of a sudden your entire livelihood depends on the income that you're making. So I do think that it is like such a great book for the current times to read as well. The next one is Crying in H Mart. Now I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this book as well, specifically because I always just look at the Goodreads rating, and yes, sometimes I'll read the comment section, but I don't really do that as much. I just look at the recommendation list and then I was like, oh, Goodreads, great reviews, so it must be a good book, and I always go for like 4 stars or just above if possible, of course. And I had no idea it is a book about a protagonist and like her mother has cancer, so she's kind of like reflecting on it, and she talks about like her past and childhood and how difficult it was, and then like her relationship to her mother, specifically her like going through the cancer treatment and how it evolves and changes. And I think I read around half of it and then I also gave up on that because I think it is so difficult, and I personally do give books a lot of chances, and so I kind of like kept going back day after day, but it was like almost so difficult to read that I was like, you know what, I understand like the concept of this book and what it is about. Like it is a really good book. I think it explains like such a difficult time that protagonist is going through, but I always kind of find those books to be very hard. Now it is definitely recommendable if you can like get through that, but it wasn't like a book that I would normally gravitate towards. Yeah, and that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Bye.